Welcome to Digital Nation, your weekly compilation of local TV best bits. And whether it's insightful or just plain entertaining, we bring you the stories you just won't find anywhere else. This week we rehome lines in Edinburgh. We meet Manchester's most loved lollipop lady. We find out about the founder of Boots the Chemist in Nottingham. And we take to the waves with Humber's life-saving lifeboat crew. First off, let's head over to Cambridge to meet a gaggle of performers aiming to transform tweets into sweet music. This alternative choir have teamed up with a conceptual artist to help us see the funny, the dark, and the absurd in people's pithy digital outpourings.
307 million active monthly users, all trying to get their voices heard. Twitter is second only to Facebook as the biggest social media tool on the web, and artist Tamsin Challenger has used the site as inspiration for her latest piece of work, which is being performed at Murray Edwards College.
I think Twitter is it's a very interesting environment, but it's also a very scary environment. The Twitter course I have developed as a concept to bring that text, those short tweets, back into the world, back into a solid form, so that we can hear it, so that we can start to hear what's happening for ourselves, so that we can see the funny, but also see the absurd and the very dark.
The piece is being performed by an all-girl alternative choir group called Gaggle, who in 2009 were recognised by NME as one of the 50 most forward-thinking people in music.
The women in Gaggle are extraordinarily ordinary women who come from all kinds of different backgrounds. Some of the challenges to do with this piece are that it has to be up to date. So we've been working all day today on new tweets, on current tweets, tweets that have happened in the past 24 hours, incorporating them into the structure and style of the concept of the piece. All the girls in Gaggle have tweeted the types of things that we're hearing today in the performance. And when you hear them back in a room, loud, quiet, in different tones, it makes you think about whether that is how you want to communicate and whether it really gets across what you want to say.
Would Christmas be Christmas without pantomime? Oh no, it wouldn't. And in Norwich, a new exhibition looks back at this theatrical experience in the area, going back to the 1700s when pantos were only a quick warmer-pack to the serious stuff like Shakespeare.
Mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the fairest of them all?
A very good question, and possibly one of these lovely ladies who've worn these delightful outfits over the years on pantomime stages across Norfolk. The Forum is hosting an exhibition to celebrate the story of pantomimes in Norfolk down the years.
What I wanted to do was create an experience for people to come in and not just learn about pantomime, but actually have a go and dress up and take part. But more importantly, I think, is that there's a lot of local history involved with pantomime in Norfolk.
The world of pantomime we know now is full of magic, music and a fair bit of mayhem. The Norwich Theatre Royal Pantomime is one of the highlights of their calendar now, playing out to packed audiences all through the festive season. But things used to be very different indeed. The exhibition has items going back to the very earliest days of performances in the 1700s, and also in the days when it wasn't even the main attraction of the evening's entertainment.
We've got a poster bill there from the Norwich Theatre Royal from the 1860s, which shows Othello and Aladdin on the same bill. And what would happen is that they would have a very short production of Aladdin, and then the younger ones would disappear, and then the rest of the family would settle down and watch Othello. But over the years, the fun part got more and more popular and got longer and longer and longer, until eventually it sort of split away and became its own night out, really.
It all runs here at the Forum until the new year, but an exhibition about pantomimes wouldn't be the same without a little bit of magic.
Over to Nottingham city centre now to see the legacy left behind by the medical pioneer of the people, Jessie Boot, founder of Boots the Chemist, now a global chain. The hard-working chemist started with a solitary store on Goosegate, and the rest? Well, it's retail history.
Jessie Boot first set up his shop on Goosegate, and while the distinctive building remains the same, you're more likely to pick up a meal than meds these days. And today his success has been celebrated in the city. And Jessie's great-granddaughter couldn't be prouder of the legacy left by her family.
I mean, he was an inspirational man, wasn't he? He was an extraordinary man. And so to have him sort of in our family is pretty special.
From herbal remedies to the invention of ibuprofen, one woman who's traced the family's roots believes the Boots boys were medical magicians.
Where we are now was really part of the industrial site of Nottingham, where the poor had come to gain employment in the factories around this area. People were really in poor living conditions. Linked to this, it's before the National Health Service, so you haven't got the free access to medicine that we've got today. So really, Jessie's offer was enabling people who couldn't afford to go to the doctor to be able to buy medicine over the counter at hugely reduced prices. So this is a fantastic store.
It's been over 160 years since the first shop opened, and now the Civic Society blue plaque has finally taken pride of place in the original store window. So next time you pick up your prescription, you never know, the remedy could have been made right here on your doorstep.
Now it's over to That Solent to meet wheelchair racer Jude Caunter, who is racing on board a ferry. This woman's got what it takes to be an Olympian: the grit, the determination, and the euphoric buzz. Age is definitely just a number in Solent.
Jude Caunter worked for Whitelink for 23 years before leaving to become a fully qualified gym instructor. Her former colleagues were delighted she was back on board, raising awareness of sport for people with disabilities. Jude has incomplete spastic paraplegia from the waist down. She's hoping her efforts will inspire others to get racing with the Portsmouth Athletic Club and become as passionate about keeping fit as she is.
As a disabled person, it's absolutely essential that you keep fit because what you do have that works, you've got to keep that going to compensate for the bits of you that don't work, and it does give you a sense of euphoria as well, and it just gives me a buzz the whole time, and I can't think how miserable I would be if I didn't keep fit, to be honest.
And additional to the racing challenge, the team were raising funds.
We're using borrowed chairs from various sources. We're Archer Academy have lent us some, and Joe King at England Athletics, this is his chair, so they've all got to go back eventually. So we'd just like to get some chairs, with some money together for chairs that we can have and call our own, and then hopefully attract some more members, especially youngsters, so we can get them trained up, and maybe we can produce our own David Ware, Hannah Cockcroft, Shelley Woods, from the city of Portsmouth.
Jude's partner wants her to focus on getting to the Paralympics, but being mature, Jude isn't sure whether that's a wild dream or a possible reality.
I mean, who wouldn't want to get to the Olympics at some point in their life? Yeah, I mean, I'm 50 now, so I better get a hurry up on if I want to do it.
Arriving back at Portsmouth, Jude was delighted to have clocked up more metres on the way back, finishing with an impressive 12.434 kilometres.
Oh wow, I'm just like euphoric, that's the word.
We've featured cats on the show before, but none as big as these featured in our next clip. STV Edinburgh reports on a lion rehoming scheme where the beautiful big cats who previously performed in circuses get to take some time out and chill in their brand new habitat.
They've settled in so much better than we could have hoped for. You know, they're really comfortable with each other. They've taken to their surroundings. They're eating well. They're out and about all the time. So all the signs are that they're very happy. Well, the life in the circus would have been hell, really. I mean, they'd spend all day in a trailer, a small cage, not much bigger than their own size, that they could. They were not in contact with their siblings either. They were just locked away. They're all brothers. Yeah, they were taken. We don't know if they're taken from the wild or they were bred in captivity. We've never had the full story of them. The one that we call the boss, he keeps them in check. So if there's any of them misbehaving or getting too big for the boots, he puts them in their place. And there's another one that's at the bottom of the tree that's does take a dislike to me for some reason, but they're and with their own peers, they're getting on great. What's wrong with you? Hey.
Oh, he doesn't. He is.
Oh, he doesn't like me at all. Hey, what's this about? What is it? Huh? I'm going to be your pal, whether you like it or not. You stop that. The waterfall, the pond, the tree shelter, the platform that they love to climb up and take in all the surroundings. They can see up to the village almost in Polbeth, and they just love to chill out there, and then they retreat underneath if they want a bit of peace and quiet. They can go out of sight if they want, so they've got everything that they need. And it just, every day is different from them. That's the thing, making it so they've got something different when they go every day. I think the likelihood is that the circus will continue performing with lions until there's an outright ban across Europe. I mean, a good age for a lion captivity would be into their 20s, mid-20s. There's very few sanctuaries like this place that would take circus lions, so you've got to ask the question, do you want them to be destroyed, or do you want them to have a life but also have to perform? And that's where the argument comes in. So there's never a good ending unless you can find a place like this.
That's it for part one. But before we go to the break, it's quiz time. Which Premier League football club is nicknamed the Cherries? Is it A, Southampton, B, Bournemouth, or C, Sheffield? Join us after the break for the answer. Welcome back to Digital Nation. Before the break, we asked you, which Premier League football club is nicknamed the Cherries? The answer is B, Bournemouth. The Bournemouth Stadium is built on a cherry tree orchard. Next, we head to Liverpool for an architectural treat, as this clip provides us with a stunning insight into the world's longest Gothic cathedral, that's also famed for having the heaviest bells. Here's Bay TV to show us the fine detail and beautiful stained glass windows.
We're here inside Liverpool's Anglican Cathedral, and it's only really when walking through this structure that you can really appreciate the Gothic splendour of this building. Now, not only is Giles Gilbert Scott's design the longest cathedral in the world, it houses the UK's largest organ and the world's heaviest bells. But what other secrets does it hold?
People, when they come into the cathedral and as they walk down the centre of the cathedral, that is the focal point. And of course, as they're walking down, they're surrounded by this great space, the great space with the tallest Gothic arches ever built. Well, the Lady Chapel, of course, was the first part of the cathedral to be built, and that was completed in 1910. And for the next 14 years was, in fact, the cathedral. The Lady Chapel is far more decorative than the main body of the cathedral. You will see the decoration, for example, the text that goes right round the Lady Chapel of the gallery, the text from St. John. And of course you have the windows, particularly the one we've in shot now, the apse window, which is in 3 windows really. There's the Annunciation, the Adoration and the Presentation in these beautiful blues that you can see. One of the best windows in the cathedral, really, by Carl Edwards. So these are things that, if you come to the cathedral, we always point out. Don't miss going to the Lady Chapel.
Now to Grimsby, to meet the crew of the Humber RM Ally lifeboat station, led by station manager Dave. Watch as his trusty team simulate an emergency situation. Just goes to show, the importance of practice is essential in the avoidance of getting wet.
This, where we are now, is, believe it or not, is one of our biggest hazards in the river. We've got the Hale Sand Fort over on the south bank, and over here in the middle of the river here, we've got the Bull Sand Fort. The Bull Sand Fort, as you can see, the tide's absolutely whizzing around it. It's got a safety buoy either side of it to keep everything away from it, but we still get the odd one hit it and in the fog. Even though we have yourselves aboard today, they never stop. And it's just now second nature that they'll be keeping a lookout all the time. They will be watching the navigation, they will be listening to the radios, they'll be looking at, as you've seen, they're all the time telling me. And it works. It's all done in fun and camaraderie. And by doing it with fun and camaraderie, when we are up against it, and at times we are, there's no shadow of a doubt, we have some very, very difficult times at sea, but it don't change. We come away with a little giggle sometimes and thinking, what on earth have we just done? Big emergency steering for exercise, we have a steering failure. Thank you, ready?
Yes, emergency steering's rigged.
Roger, hard to starboard.
Hard to starboard. Hard to starboard. Hard to starboard.
The importance of practicing is if that happens on a shout, on a bad night, we can do it without thinking about it.
We've run the engines, we've drilled the crew, we know everything's working on the lifeboat, so when we've done a bits and bobs and we go ashore, we know she's ready if a call comes in. It's really important to have that trust.
Let's nip to Birmingham to get some fresh air in the great outdoors. The Wildlife Trust aims to encourage children to get involved in nature, and the Eco Park in Birmingham is a great setting for outdoor activities. So kids, put down your iPads and enjoy nature instead.
We know it's more and more difficult for children to experience the outdoors. For all sorts of reasons, children don't play outside on their own so much as they did 2 or 3 generations ago. Although there are plenty of parks and open spaces around, there is obviously still not the wide open spaces that you get in other parts of the country. People, and children in particular, are happier, healthier if they do have access to the outdoors and to activities in the outdoors. And so what we're about is helping to provide places and activities, particularly here for children, where we have more than 10,000 a year coming through the gates and taking part in both formal and informal education and holiday play sessions.
We've heard that they've been planting wildflower meadows, they've been planting fruit trees, doing all sorts of things, getting their families outside in the garden, going and visiting green spaces, which is absolutely wonderful.
You get to learn about your own boundaries, you get to reflect on things, you get to be inspired, you get a bit of peace and quiet. You're in an unstructured playground, effectively, where you can you can be who you want and you can do what you want. You haven't got parents or teachers telling you what to do. So being out in nature is really, really important. And what's really important about this People Postcode Lottery funded project is that it's reaching kids that wouldn't normally get the opportunity to find a place like this. And all these kids are going to have a much better life for the lessons they learn in a green space like this.
So how much do you know about where you live? Well, there's one thing you can be sure of. We live in a truly creative kingdom.
So you thought Silicon Valley was the birthplace of computer games, or that gaming started in Japan? Not quite. When it comes to the true home of video games, it's one up to Manchester. In 1951, the Boffins at Ferranti were asked to take part in the Festival of Britain, and they answered the call of duty with the Nimrod, the world's first games computer. The graphics weren't up to much. A bank of flashing lights, and seeing as it measured 9 feet by 12 feet and weighed over a ton, it was a bit of a space invader. But it played a cracking game of whatever that was. Because when it comes to creativity, invention, and being ahead of the pack, man, in Manchester Mint.
At Digital Nation, we love to celebrate our local legends. So in this next clip, we're travelling to Manchester to meet Heather, the lollipop lady, who apparently was only doing the job for a few days. But fast forward 40 years, and they've only gone and named her patch Heather's Corner. Now that's dedication for you.
Heather Dalton Morris has been serving this suburban sale community for 45 years now. Two local mums are hoping to honour her tireless work, and they're crowdfunding to have a mosaic put up here on Heather's Corner. It's where she served as a lollipop lady for nearly half a century.
The police came and asked me because the lollipop lady left and there'd no one to do it. So they came along and asked me because they knew my dad, because my dad was in the police. And I said, no. And they said, just for a week. I said, all right, just for a week, and I'm still here.
Out on her morning rounds, not one person has a bad thing to say about her.
She helps everyone crossing the road. And she's really nice to us. She helps people cross the road.
Right, sweethearts. Bye-bye, darling. See you. Bye-bye. Bye-bye, darlings. And I love it, and they love me, and I love the mothers because I used to cross them.
I think we didn't quite realise how many, generations Heather's crossed, and, there's children, and then there's the parents, and there's the grandparents, and there's a real sense of kind of community coming together. And it's just so lovely to kind of highlight that these people exist in our community.
That is something I never expected, and it is. It's really, really lovely. It's first class. It's as good as going to Buckingham Palace.
We featured this popular and exciting sport on Digital Nation before, but now we get to meet one of its champions. This guy has literally got the skills to pay the bills. So let's head to Unit 23 BMX Park in Dumbarton for a guided tour, Chris Kyle style.
Today we are at Unit 23 Skate Park, which is located in Dumbarton, Scotland. And yeah, this place is just unreal. Yeah, I've been riding BMX for around 13 years now. And I first started riding when I was 10 years old. I just kind of got into it through watching my brother and all his friends do it. The Kaleidoscope video that I guess you might have seen. That's pretty much one big massive dream of mine come true. And it was things that I'd never done before in my life, no one's ever done. So it was like really pushing myself to my absolute limits. I've rode here every day for probably the last 8 years when I'm not away travelling. To be honest, if it wasn't for this place, I wouldn't be where I am today. This place has really shaped who I am as a person and made me go on to pursue my dreams, really. The owner's unreal, and yeah, it's kind of like a second dad to me, actually.
It's very, very different here in the way that things work because it's like a big family.
I guess you could say this place just kind of swallowed me up and took me in, and yeah, it's still got me till this day. I still love it. I'm still here all the time, and I will be for years to come.
And that's it for another journey around our awesome Isles. If our clips have ticked your telly box, then don't forget there's more to see on each of the local TV channels' websites. Or why not catch up on shows by visiting bbc.co.uk/Digital Nation. Until next week, goodbye.